4, 5, 6,
Siete, ocho,
7, 8,
nueve,
9, 10,
10.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 16, 17.
Great that
I
you started going like Italian on me there. It's really
I know my Spanish numbers. The rest of the
Nombre.
language. Numbers, my friend,
No,
numbers. I'm Lebanese. I speak the English. We say the numbers. Let's move on. A little bit of Italian, a little bit of it's a Mediterranean. It's the olives.
I've always like my absolute favorite accent is Argentinian, which has like a healthy like talking with your hands kind of lyricism to it. That's almost Italian, but it's still Spanish. So it's my favorite.
Middle. So it's I don't know if it is the Mediterranean or not, but Lebanese people or Arabic people also speak very much with their hands.
Oh yeah.
That was something I had to learn. Like it's weird. Like if you watch my Arabic videos and you watch my English videos, there's a lot more hand action in the Arabic for some reason. My hands kind of like suddenly are doing things, and I'm like looking at the wrong side, doing things. But yeah, it's okay. It comes out with
the gig, and it's also like cuisine. There's a lot of Mexican cuisine that is directly inspired by Mediterranean and Middle Eastern.
True fact. I don't know if you maybe know this or not. Mother's favorite weapon of choice in both Spanish and Middle East is shahata. I can pretty much say I don't know where the moms go for graduation for these things because for some reason or another they have like super aim. It's almost like they play Call of Duty before they come over. It's one of those targeting systems, on point.
Terminator vision.
Yeah, I know. It's a bad beginning of an episode. Okay. So first thing,
this is the best beginning of an episode we've ever had. I will not have you besmirch our show like that.
I wanted to make it cool. No, it's Thursday. It is Thursday, the 28th of January, 2021. January is almost over. And it keeps on coming with more and more surprises as days goes on. I mean, I think it has a couple more days, and I'm worried about what's going to happen.
And we thought we left 2020 back in 2020, and no, it followed.
Oh no, 2020 is like hold on a second, I'm right there with you. So
2021's all hold my beer.
Exactly. It's like let me show you. The beginning of this week actually has been kind of crazy. We're going to talk about obviously a lot of things this week. I want to say welcome to everybody to the show. It is episode 7. I can't believe it. We're at episode 7 of the best of our week. This is your co-hosting team, TK Bay and Senor Juan Carlos Bagnell. Hashtag. You insert the hashtag this week. Are we still going to with the LG Chill guy, or are we going to go with El Senor Sony Pro guy?
It's definitely been a week of Sony affection. And again, I often feel like we get these really fun alternative options in consumer tech, and then it just feels like us versus the world.
It didn't it? It's like weird, like as if like you get one narrative if you watch our show, and if you watch anybody else's show, it's like this is too much. It's expensive. You shouldn't consider it. But it's cool for that very specific 30 people. There was somebody show. And he named a specific 30 people that would be interested in purchasing the Xperia Pro. But yeah, it is. It's very different. But what I wanted to kind of allude to very, very badly, actually, was the fact that obviously you and I had an opportunity to play around with some dope tech from Sony.
I kind of feel like Sony still graces me with review devices occasionally just because they know I'm going to be really snarky and sarcastic about how their phones are usually reviewed. And it's frustrating how often I kind of nail we got to find something to complain about. And this phone isn't going to, sort of perform as well for average consumer demographic algorithm YouTube ad revenue. So you shouldn't buy it. And like, it's just getting exhausting because it's become so transparent that your feelings on a phone are more sort of entwined with how well the video is going to do for you than sort of giving a fair assessment of like
what they're trying to do. What this phone is really intending to do. And So the interesting part, so it seems like all of us obviously had the same setup, and the really one thing I was really stoked about is that we got a chance to go down, not together, but independently, to Santa Monica / Venice / whatever the area, in that over there, where apparently that's the closest ultra wideband connection that we can get to us, because there was nothing close to us. And it was really a weird thing. And but you know what? But it was really cool. So I posted my first #short video today, and it was a weird
I don't even know if I have access to shorts.
No, it's not an access. It's anybody with the channel. It doesn't. There's no.
Oh, so okay,
No.
To be activated then.
Absolutely not. The only thing you need to keep in mind is title has to be 60 characters or less. So you can't have a long title. Also, it has to be 60 seconds and less. So essentially, it's a TikTok on YouTube.
I'm absolutely feeling like I need to lean into the clickbait as much as possible.
Absolutely.
On my community tab, someone made a joke like, you should call your next video Pixel 5. Is it even worse than an iPhone 4? And oh, that's hilarious, because literally the entire video would be, no, the Pixel 5 murks old iPhones. Why would you click on the title of this video? What's wrong with you?
Start off with it. The other thing, NC. It is not horizontal video. It has to be vertical. So it's vertical video. Exactly. That's why I said it's TikTok on YouTube. And
I desperately want to shoot landscape and then put it into a vertical project.
It'll be a vertical project file with just a side thing, or you know what? Yeah. Shrink it down to fit. Don't even.
No, exactly. It would be 3/4 of the frame.
You would get everybody right there, looking at it. Speaking, before we forget, we should do the honorary.
Okay, let's see.
It's that time of the week.
What's so funny is I still have it. I unlocked the phone immediately.
No bueno. That's okay.
So week 7 on our continued Sony Xperia update watch, we are both still unfulfilled.
U.S. market is at the bottom of the queue, really at the bottom of the queue. And I know they want to.
I was watching people complain on the Sony subreddit, the Hong Kong phones always get it last, and you're like, what? Wait, no. HK region so much better ahead of where we're at.
Way ahead of where we are, my friend. It's okay. You know what? It's one of those things we gotta it makes us want it more. I'm actually just wanting to be able to play around with the 4K 120. That's really the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to.
4K 120. I'd love to show that off on an Xperia 1, and I know that so Vince is saying his update.
Vince.
He has the HK dual SIM version of the phone. The other thing I want to give a try.
Lucky guy, man. Lucky.
Is all the people that have been talking about how there's actual support for video input on the Xperia 1, because it's such a huge feature on the Xperia Pro that if you could do a little USB to HDMI capture, a little plug unit, something like that, that could be pretty cool.
Like an adapter that you could do.
I've got my really cheap one from AliExpress right here. This was $20. I just bumped my mic. Sorry. One of these guys.
Oh, did they exist then? Okay, so HDMI.
You just kind of get a USB-C adapter on there, or you could plug it into a laptop dock. I want to see if it'll work on something like this.
Okay.
And then apparently there is support for that being an input that you can use very similarly to how the HDMI input works on the Xperia Pro.
We'll have to try it out when we get it. That would be actually very interesting, because we know it already works on HDMI out. I've used it in the past, and during my time of testing before I returned the units, because I had 2, I hooked up one to the other, and I ran mirroring into so I had an Xperia Pro connected to an Xperia Pro, and then I was
with the Xperia 1. I was like, oh, now I've got to get a screen mirror, screen mirror, or something else.
Exactly. You got to, if you wanted to do it. So it was totally doable. for me, it was more like, because one was working, the other one didn't work for me, and that's why they sent me the second unit, and you know, they're all gone now. But anyways, before I did, I took a couple of pictures. I just wanted to make sure that, like, it existed. What at one point I used 2 Xperia Pros, not 1, 2. You know, add those dollars.
Yo, dog, I heard you like the Xperia, so I put an Xperia in your Xperia. And you're like, yeah, it's pretty sweet. So the experience of using an Xperia,
Very nice, very smooth right there. Go ahead.
I'm so happy that this thing exists, and in my brain, it makes so much sense for like a certain tier of professional, especially like mobile journalism and broadcast journalism. And it's just really frustrating watching this milquetoast reaction. Oh, I mean, it's so not worth it because, like, it's just an Xperia 1 with an HDMI input. So it's just proof that Sony is charging more because they can. And you're like, if you can walk away from that experience, and if you can walk away from really having used one, and I haven't seen a lot of like live broadcasts. Like my follow-up video is a capture of me doing another live broadcast.
And I saw that and I was very, very excited. I was like, why didn't I think of that? Like, I have a whole bunch of other things, but that part I was thinking that would have been the best. Troubleshooting the setup, how to get it working, what you need to do. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out that video, it's on the channel.
And it's a little tricky. I mean, there's a big part of that is like just trying to live stream from a phone is hard. It's not necessarily specifically about the Xperia Pro, but I'm using the Xperia Pro to talk about this because of that video input. To be able to shrug that off is such a privileged, elitist, bad look for tech influencers. And I'm getting real tired of, oh, this thing that is a little bit different than a Samsung or an Apple exists. It's so not worth it. And like at some point you got to say, man, like you can't keep complaining about phones getting boring and then only look to the Fold as like the savior of interesting technology. It's so tired. It's so hack. And it's like, you've got to go out of your way and jump through so many hoops to find things to complain about. It doesn't have exposure zebra striping. You can get that on an external monitor. So this phone isn't worth it. Are you mad? If this were so easy, how come no one else has tried to merge broadcast? You know why? It's because it's really hard. And they know they're going to sell in limited quantities. And when you sell to a smaller install base, guess what? Your manufacturing and R&D costs go through the roof. That's just the reality of making something that's not mainstream, watered down, broad consumer friendly. It's like the costs ramp up. And I'm so tired of this like tech elitism where like we're just going to conveniently ignore the reality of trying to make something as crazy complicated as a phone. It's so like willfully ignorant in the worst look way possible.
It was very shocking. Like I said, at the beginning of the video, if you watch the coverage on the phone, which this time seemed to be more than just you and I, it was a few other creators. Yeah, it was a few more people. I was like surprised. Like I'm like, my feed usually, because you know when Samsung releases something, my feed just becomes pages and pages and pages of Samsung.
I was at least appreciative of the fact that it does seem like Sony is trying to work with United States carriers better, and because this is actually like. This has to be like certified for Verizon. It's like they actually cared about maybe we should get a few more North American reviewers to take it for a spin.
No, I think the selection it was a very small group. Let's just say this much: if you guys watch the content that was created, it was a small group, but you also noticed that it was almost like a divided experience. The fact is, I did have some challenges at the beginning when I was trying to get my unit set up. The first one was bad. The second one that I got, actually working with you, got a chance to kind of figure it out. Rolando's in the chat, Lani's in the chat as well. Aditya, of course, two Xperia, two Furious. It was definitely a unique experience, but it's still a massive accomplishment for something that. To this day, like nobody was like, the reality of the matter is like once I saw what this system can do, and in a really almost simplistic way, because if you think about it, the hardware is built on, it does have a lot of heritage with the Xperia 1 Mark II. And that's why at the beginning of the video when I did mine is I wanted to make sure to say, look, there's differences between the two. They're not necessarily exact, but it is based on the fact that the 1 Mark II was so good. That's why they're basing it on. It's not like they chose the phone from their lineup. They chose the best of the best. And the reality is that 4K OLED is the best option for you, because it wouldn't have made sense if they went with the 1080p on the Xperia 5.
Oh, no, TK. No. There's like pillar boxing. If your frame is 16:9, then you have some black bars on your screen. It's not worth it.
So when I saw that on the video, I was like, did they know that they could change the output of the camera? Did they know they could take out the actual boxing of it and that it actually fill more of the display?
Well, my favorite was like
they can pinch and zoom.
Show the camera feed with the actual camera UI and then complaining about the camera crop. But I mean, even on top of that, it's still just it's vomit inducing when someone's like, oh, you're gonna see pillar boxing.
It was
like, it's still a higher resolution than most cheap LCD.
Oh, absolutely.
That you're going to clamp to your
and the A7S3, the A7S3 also outputs at 2K on the resolution on the HDMI, so you're able to get really high quality image, very crisp. And if you take out the output, because you can change some of these settings in the camera. But at the end of the video, when I saw this, like I said, there was a few things that I saw that it didn't make sense because I used the product, right? It's one thing to comment on something when you haven't seen it or haven't used it, but we got a chance to play with it. We live streamed together. We worked out the whole StreamYard, Streamlabs.
So let's break it down. We did your Saturday morning. We did a stream.
We did it live, man.
We were doing it, and both of us were just walking around with Xperia Pros doing it live.
Doing it live.
It worked. We did
30-minute live stream separately. There's the joint, which you can see the excerpts from. We both used some of that the content there.
I had to use the grill, man. You're like, I don't want the grill in the shot. I'm like,
I knew you were going to go for that. The moment you said you were going, so I decided to go with the slight different. I didn't want to use the same clip. It would have been too funny. I was like, I'm like moving a grill away.
But then we each did our own individual sort of streaming projects to
absolutely exactly. Yeah, we augmented it. The troubleshooting part that I had at the beginning was mostly it was due to the orientation, which I think Juan covers in the video today that he posted. It does have some orientation, the way the device is set up with the accelerometer.
These issues are not Xperia issues.
No, but
it is fair to say, like, Android is not smart enough. You have to jump through some hoops to like line it up exactly right so that Android can get you there.
Exactly.
Mobile browsers are going to be an issue, all the extra settings and connections and like all that stuff. Absolutely fair to say, like, there are going to be some teething pains. I didn't run into any problems that I thought were insurmountable. And I know you had one unit that didn't work for you, and then you had one unit that was working great. I think the one thing that all of us fell down on the job, literally every single reviewer, every single video that I saw, no one really highlighted that these were nowhere near retail units. And I feel it was kind of
share that. Yes,
it was somewhat not, I don't want to use something so strong as to say intellectually dishonest, but at least disingenuous to complain about like hardware problems or connectivity problems or, oh, look, this thing crashed again for me. Sony can't do anything right. And you're like, this was, it's not even that this wasn't retail. These were like the test units for Verizon certification on millimeter wave. This is like 2 generations from a boxed consumer ready retail unit. And I feel like that was the one thing I should have stressed harder in my video. And I really wish that people who had issues, the responsible thing to do isn't just to point out the issues. The
issue is also why you have them. Yeah.
Is to point out at what stage these phones were, especially if you have a larger audience. And so again, it was just yet another, it was another opportunity to engage in a more nuanced conversation. And I'm not surprised. I'm always disappointed, but I'm never surprised when tech influencers drop the ball and play the easy, lazy game of just, well, you're not going to buy this phone anyway, so it doesn't matter if I do my homework here. Brr, 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 brr.
That is true. That was one of the reasons why I didn't really cover all the challenges I had on my end in the sense of where we were able to get, because I knew that the challenges were, in theory, at least the way I looked at it was, the retail units shouldn't have these concerns. The orientation concern, the switch, I think
I was going to say your second unit didn't have that issue. My
No.
unit didn't have that
Yeah,
issue. My unit
exactly.
was like butter. I mean, like the actual Sony side of connecting anything with an HDMI to the phone, getting it recognized, following the steps for the different apps and services that they were talking about. For me, literally every piece of that was bulletproof.
Exactly.
And it functioned exactly the way that Sony presented it. Obviously, there are other expectations. People want things that just don't really exist. Fine, you can want unicorn stuff, but like what Sony told me the product could do, it not only did it, but it did it really well. Then we had to spend some time figuring out the weirdness of mobile, and I think that was fair to point out.
Yeah, no, and that was the reason why behind it. I felt like it wasn't something I needed to highlight yet, but I think for the next video, I'm trying to put together an idea of what I want to do for another video. The video that I put out today was more of a short. Like I said, it's not really a video. It's more intended to, like, I captured a speed test, but I wanted to share that screen recording with the 5G monitoring app, because it also did that thing that I was trying to tell you, where it kind of shifted from the front to the side where the 5G millimeter wave technology was moving, and that to me was very big.
That was really cool.
It was like I said, once I got ultra wide, the millimeter wave connection in Santa Monica or in Venice or whatever, it was very nice. Like, I really wanted to sit there a little bit longer to test out a few more things that run around the internet connection, because that's the whole purpose of testing it. It's to test it outside. It's to use it broadcast or try to do the live work. But apparently I'm not a Casey. I'm not going to be any kind of close to being a Casey. I tried holding the camera up for like.
I love how you abbreviated that. Like, I'm just going to be a Casey. I'm not going to be a Casey.
I'm not going to be a Casey. Not even.
But I mean, to that point though, it's so radical. I mean, there's something so wild about this concept. And it's so difficult to express if you've never had to lug gear and do a remote or work a trade show, or you've never been in broadcast.
Absolutely.
I cannot express how crazy it is to see this little sliver of a rectangle that clips to a mirrorless camera. Already we're now like lighter than my old DSLR, old like more professional like broadcast cameras. What we used to have to lug around just to get field recording done was multiple times more cumbersome and
heavier. Exactly. All of the above.
Absolutely nuts. And again, you look at this price tag and you factor in like a good 5G uplink modem for a broadcast camera is going to start you off at $1,000, and it's going to be about 3 times the bulk of an Xperia Pro.
Exactly.
And probably some better capabilities for when you're really managing different signals or having to bond, like an Ethernet to a carrier signal. I mean, there are still some advantages for having giant black box that connects to your camera. But if you're expecting to broadcast over LTE sub-6 or millimeter wave, the fact that this little phone, this teeny little phone, is able to hang for hours of field recording before you need to plug it in, and then it can still run off of USB power.
I was going to say, you could literally power it up with a power bank, connect the power bank if you want to really go for the long haul. But for me, like when I was using it, this is so much of a device that I can see myself using at a show. It's not necessarily just for broadcast, because the way the reason why I was really excited about it is because of the things like what we're doing right now, our live stream right now, our best of our week show, the Saturday morning with tech show, all of those live streams that I typically do on a weekly basis. If I am traveling, like once we get back to that, I see myself doing it using this type of a tech because the A7S III is the camera that I take with me, or if I take with me the A7 III. So those are the type of technology, the tech that I look forward to and utilizing in real world. I use the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. That literally, my SIM is in the phone. So had it been the Pro, it would have been totally such an easy thing. All I have to do is take the A7S III and one of my little ceramic clip-on microphones over, and everything is done. I have a mobile rig. It's set. It's ready to go.
It's
And
so lean. I mean, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have imagined that our setups could be this lean. Aditya actually brings up a great point. Out of a lot of the YouTubers and vloggers that we'd want to see talk about this, like Casey Neistat,
would have
I'd
been
kind of be curious to see what his thoughts would be on a broadcast solution, just because he does so much vlogging.
yeah.
I don't know if the live component would be as big a hook for him. But I think he'd at least appreciate.
He's more of cinematic telling a story and having control over the story, because it's not his style isn't in the live. What I'm trying to say is, yes, he may do the one-on-one live conversations and whatever shows, but in reality, it's his style of videos are edited and planned and organized and meticulously shot and beautifully, all of that.
Because he is so into smaller, little, easy to vlog with cameras, that's actually why I'd like to see his take on that as a piece of tech. I think one of the things holding him back would be, how do I broadcast the signal? Because he's not vlogging from phones.
No, he's actually.
So you add a 5G brain to one of his little vlogging cameras, and I wonder if that would actually make him feel like this was a more empowered setup, and it's so much smaller than what you would normally need to cart around.
I think it may have to change his equipment, though. He would need a camera that has HDMI out, and
any of his little vlogging cameras do.
I think I've seen. Well, it depends on what he's using. So the short answer would be he would be a good example to actually test it out.
Vamp, I'm going to pull up Casey's channel. I'm going to see what he's talking about most recently for cameras.
Yeah, no. If I remember correctly, I think he was on a. Was he on the Canon 80? No, it's not the 80D. He left the 80D, and I think he went over to the GH5. I'm not sure if he's on an A7 III though. So it depends. He's moved on. I remember that much.
But I mean, like any camera. I mean, like my Panasonics have HDMI.
Oh no, I agree. No, what I meant to say, it's more about like the way we were able to get the A7S III to utilize this kit was because we needed to put a cage around it, and the cage adds, there's the component of the setup, all of that. I think portability, that's what was my biggest challenge when I was trying to hold it. It was just, it had a decent amount of weight. I should have brought a tripod with me, which I just brought a Manfrotto, which is too short for me to stand up. But if he's able to check it out and see something, what could he do with it? I think that would have been so.
It is kind of interesting. Like, I don't think he hasn't posted in over 3 months.
No, it's sporadic. Every once in a while, you'll see him. Yeah, he's not his dailies are gone. Once in a while,
the dailies are gone. But 3 months ago, he was putting out a grip of videos. Like,
around Santa Monica.
3 months ago, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 videos out, which in a month is actually kind of heavy for him these days.
Yep.
And then nothing. Like legit just gone for 3 months.
He's on social media, but he's just not posting. I think that's,
Yeah, I can't see, but let me see if I can pull up. There's one video where he kind of shows off like a tripod, and I'm trying to see what's on that tripod, but I can't tell. Anyway, regardless,
it would still work.
The camera he would use would have an HDMI output, and he'd be able to connect an Xperia Pro to it. So as long as I walk away from this part of our conversation correct, then I feel like the universe is balanced and is.
Peace, my friend. You got it. You win. All he has to do is connect his little GoPro to an HDMI out cable, connect it into the A7S III. I'm sorry, to the Xperia Pro, and he has the lightest setup ever. Because then you don't even need a cage. You just stick that GoPro to the back of the phone. right there, run the cable, and then you're good.
I mean, like,
I'm joking, but it could happen.
no, I'm not. Like, there are so many. We were showing this off with high-end Sony mirrorless $4,000 camera bodies. You can craft a very cinematic look. I mean, obviously, I'm streaming up to StreamYard, and it's 720p quality, and it still looks so good because the camera is putting up this gorgeous full frame mirrorless, super soft depth of field.
Absolutely.
It's just unbelievable. The fact that was going up over LTE is crazy pants. But like, you've seen like the little rigs that I've walked around with to cover a CES, and it's like a phone in a cradle, and then I also do like cold shoe mount to throw like a light or a mic. And the fact that you could build all of that around a phone, a GoPro style camera, maybe a little ring light, your setup would like fit on a stick, and like would be so small. And just the fact that we can legitimately create something like that, like, increasingly I get more and more positive about the Xperia Pro because of the people that are genuinely trying to shave weight, work more aggressively, produce out in the field, run and gun style production, very lean, mean, and crazy fast production. And I mean, like, the smaller you go, the more expensive it gets, but there's a legit path that incorporates this kind of this kind of hardware.
It's what the other thing that I also feel like a lot of people didn't really get a chance to explain too much, but I think some did cover. It's the fact of the mobile FTP connection that you're able to set up on your S7S3. So we're not even talking about just the fact that you can broadcast, but the fact that you can upload from the camera to an FTP server through an FTP server connection directly through the phone. You're actually tethering through the phone to get the internet connection. So there's a lot more things you could do on the uploading of your content, even if you're not even using it to broadcast. If you're using it to back up your data, get it up to the site, get it to the editors, get it to your field, whatever setup you may have, depending on how big your crew is. This is very much a very functional system, which is really why I'm like, I want to see more. I wanted to spend more time with it, and even though we had it for a few days, I felt like the time was very short. I would love to be able to spend some more time with it, and I did beg, but they said that this was the best they could do, and I said thank you, I appreciate it. Love the stuff that you guys have. And short answer, I think for me is I'm still working on one more video. I do have a lot more content, more B-roll. I had like about 80 gigs of B-roll. I shot everything I could.
Shot a lot.
Yeah. It was literally like the whole time I was shooting, the whole time we had it, I was doing B-roll. I wasn't doing anything A-roll. A-roll, like, F it. We'll do A-roll in post. So to me, it was more about taking the different parts and taking the different things that are going on. But with that being said, let's see what we have. I think everybody's on everybody's with us on the same level. Let me do this. I need to jump off for 1 second. I do apologize for that.
Yeah,
no. And I'll let you jump on and start off the GameStop conversation for us. I'll get back in a second.
Do it. So who's on the stonks? Yeah, stonks go. Brrr. Is that the what the hip kids are talking about? Well, TK puts me in charge of the show, and then my voice fails. TK and I have been DJ 80 gigs, so like 3 minutes of video. B-roll is taking up a lot of space these days. I'm really glad I'm running a NOS that's just packed full of hard drives so that I can hang with years of old footage that I can edit from. TK and I were talking quite a bit about what to cover on this week's show, and we just kind of felt like it was mandatory to at least mention what's going on with GameStop and the stock market. And it's definitely helped. Like, this is maybe the second best education I've had on how stocks work since watching the movie Trading Places and watching them corner the frozen orange juice market. It has been an absolutely wild ride checking out what a very determined and angry group of people can do when obviously there are whole sections of our economy that feel somewhat rigged. And I don't know how familiar people are with what's happening here, but it also seems to be kind of a regulatory nightmare in the making, as we see these firms that leverage the stock trying to short it, trying to like damage a company's reputation and bet against that company's success, which is a risky position anyway, but did so to such a degree that they could not recover from a small group of people bumping the stock price up. And that's unbelievable in an economy that is only 10 years, not even recovered. It's just 10 years from the cataclysmic housing crash of 2008, that we're already back in a position where people can wildly manipulate the stock market and do ridiculous things with it. It's just kind of sad. It's sad that we're not really trying to repair any of this stuff. We're just trying to get back to normal instead of really looking at what caused us to kind of crater. And it hurt so many people. And yet now here we are. I got a couple questions here. Hold on one second. Let me take a drink of water. So, Sun Through Eyelids, you guys still rocking the Xperia 5? How are you enjoying it? Man, I got a little tickle. I can't clear it. I do not have an Xperia 5. I opted for Xperia 1. I'm kind of wishing I had maybe held on to the Xperia 5 just because I really liked that 4K 120 frame per second slow motion video. I had this design. I really wanted to shoot kind of like a short spooky horror film. Have my daughter like voice some of the dialogue and shoot it all in like that 4K 120 because it's so crisp. It is such good slow motion video. But again, I was like, the Xperia 1, it'll get that update. I'll be fine. And so I opted not to keep the Xperia 5. And that was like 4 months ago. It was like 3 months ago that I had my hands on the Xperia 5. So unfortunately, I feel like I kind of chose wrong. How is the Xperia Pro in gaming? The Xperia Pro is very much an Xperia 1. The Xperia 1 is a solid gaming experience. Like I've enjoyed it. Especially for some of my favorite games like Anima, that Diablo clone. The Xperia 1 was solid, and I didn't game that hard on the Xperia Pro, but I didn't see anything that would have made me concerned that you couldn't game to the same degree. It is funny, like in my video, I kind of showed what Sony wanted to focus on in their marketing one sheet, which was game streaming. So it was more like how to set up your PlayStation 5 to stream directly to your Xperia Pro to get your gaming done. And it was fine. I mean, like, it kind of works well enough remote. Like if I can play Tetris and I don't feel like I'm making too many mistakes because of lag over that system, then I'm good for that.
Wait,
from a TNL, while I don't understand the specifics of it, the fact that the trade was halted later on in the day feels very corporate, very maleficent. Yes, it does.
It is.
I kind of getting back, and welcome back, TK. Welcome back to your own stream, to your own show. I feel like this is probably gonna kick off yet another round of Occupy Wall Street style political demonstration. And I think it's yet another good piece of evidence that, like, it doesn't really matter what affirmations the ultra wealthy spit out. Oh, just cut back on the avocado toast, or, just learn how to invest and save up and earn more money. And that's how you get good. in so many facets of our daily lives. If we're talking about popular technology companies, if we're talking about YouTube algorithms,
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff is largely feeling rigged. And we keep getting evidence that suggests it's all totally rigged. And then when we do something that steps outside the sort of agreed upon rules, it gets shut down, and then they go back to rigging it again. So it's if there's some better fallout from this, what'll be disappointing and hilarious all at the same time is if there's more regulatory action on this than there was on the 2008 housing collapse.
Or if there is actually a bailout. That's the thing that really worries me, is that because there was some words were thrown around depending on where you were, what news feed you were looking into, is that the damage was so bad. The damage was so bad that they're maybe contemplating buyouts, or not buyouts, but bailouts, because it's a weird story to see. Like, I mean, when you really read it, when you really see all the details, some of it is comical, but some of it is also kind of realistically kind of a very, as you said, a political stand, a political statement being made in a very strong wave. And Aladdin and Robinhood, the position that Robinhood took was very interesting. To me, it felt like it's very much on the side of the losing side, the people that are losing all the money, the people that they wanted to stop the pain, I guess, for some reason, or halted. And
well,
even
yeah, because the people that took these ridiculous positions were all wealthy, thinking that they could just gamble away these funds
exactly,
and put themselves out in increasingly risky ways. And then when their risk didn't pay off, they got to push pause. If any one of us had put ourselves out there to a ridiculous degree and made a very risky gamble like these fund managers did, no one would have the slightest bit, rightfully, no one would have the least bit sympathy for that, because we did something dumb and we gambled away our money.
We took a risk.
And took a risk, and that risk didn't pay off.
Yeah.
And again, it is, I don't know how to keep how better to express this. It doesn't matter if you're liberal. It doesn't matter if you're conservative. The real fight is the ultra wealthy that feel they deserve to control all of the rules of the game, and they're allowed to rewrite the rules on the fly versus everybody else.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, if we ever needed something more unifying, a better example of that, it's watching 100,000 one-star reviews of the Robinhood app on Google Play evaporate. Because we've got to protect the Robinhood app, and we've got to protect the big money that goes into funding the Robinhood platform. We've got to protect billionaire hedge fund managers. Like, again, there is an us versus them, but it's not working class versus working class. That's not the fight. They're just really good at making us think it is.
It's still the weird thing about it is it's still technically, developing. It's not a done deal yet. The only thing that we know, at least at this point, is that you're able to sell. Wait, if I'm saying, they're going to allow people that have stocks to sell, but nobody to buy more stocks.
Yeah.
So you couldn't.
Again,
so essentially,
it's never how stocks work.
Yeah, no, that's not how I realize it is not the way it's supposed to. I mean, I'm new to this field, but apparently that's how it's not supposed to work.
I mean, I don't know if you caught it as you were heading out, but like my only education of how stocks work is the movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. Like, that's about as much as I understand the stock
experience. Yeah, I see how it is.
So nothing we say here should be construed as investment advice.
Oh, absolutely not certified, definitely certifiable. No, a group of people to give any kind of stock advice. It was more about the interest for me is that I saw the video that John Rettinger posted also, because John Rettinger, his own channel.
John did a breakdown on that too.
Yeah, and in his piece, he is actually also saying that this is probably not going to be the only thing that we see, that this could happen to other stocks, other things that they're anticipating could have the same type of effect. But at the end of the day, I mean, really, if we start looking at these things, there needs to be an understanding that, this is being put in the public. It's involving people, regardless. Like you said, if it was you and I that went in there with the 20-30K investment, and then suddenly all of our investment went down because the stock drops by 50%, in whatever amount of time, whatever they were originally hedging for. Nobody would have blinked an eye. But the fact that this is what is going on, it's always concerning that, there's a double standard to a certain point that we seem to only recognize the moment the big guys are involved in the game. And that concerns us as a user. Now, I'm not a user of Robinhood. I didn't have an actual stake in the actual GameStop thing, other than it didn't, like, when I saw that the trending, when I first saw the story break and that GameStop stock was going up, in my mind, I was thinking, why? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would GameStop start soaring? Nothing happened. They didn't announce anything. They didn't revamp anything. There's no news
Because
of anything.
stocks have nothing to do with the actual fundamentals of a company's business. One of the things did you see the old video that was circulating on Reddit for a while this morning? It was someone during one of Steve Jobs' keynotes, like, I want to say like in the early 80s. Asking me like, well, and a tech journalist is just going to wake up in the morning and is going to say, don't buy Apple stock, and they're going to short us, and they're going to laugh all the way to the bank. And then what do we do though if we're passionate about this company? And like, we have been dealing with this perception of a brand. It's all fake. It's all posturing. It literally does not matter if your company's doing well, is succeeding, is remaining profitable. It's only this weird perception filtered through the eyes of these people that are totally happy to go on these binges of just insane gambling.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to destroy a company by shorting the stock. Look at all the people that lost money trying to short Tesla. And you're like,
yes.
What? But then also we look at the valuation of a company like Tesla, and it seems incorrect for the number of cars they actually sell. So again, it's like it's all image. Not actually like Tesla made this much money, their stock is worth this much. And like there's nothing practical about it. It's all just does the company visibly give off the air of value or of wealth? Then I guess it's worth more. It's mind-boggling that we've let it get this toxic in trying to value.
It is, and I think Tesla is a perfect example of when you look at it in that sense. Because the fact of the matter is, you're right. They're extremely late in delivering their product. Their products are sometimes announced in years later. We'll see what the product looks like. Cybertruck still not here. Not that I put in a down payment. I know some people that did.
And the thing is, like, I want to celebrate the fact that they, Elon Musk made a car company from scratch. Like, there's a lot of, you take apart a Model 3, and there are some very interesting decisions on how that car got made. Like, they didn't really know how to make a car. When they started making sedans, and it's this incredible accomplishment that they're getting vehicles out the door and they're actually improving their manufacturing process and getting it done. I mean, I want to celebrate that, and I want to say if they're making money on that, then that is a boon for the people who invested in their company. But you're not, when you buy Tesla stock, you're not buying a piece of a rock solid foundation of business. You're buying a share of the perception of what a Tesla could be. Yep. And that just seems wrong to me. And then at the other side, anyone who's shorting that stock and is trying to gamble away, like, oh, well, we're pretty sure this company's going to fail. That's dumb.
Yeah, no,
when like literally, we've been on this train for a while. The business trends are very clear, but we're talking a decade out. Most automobile manufacturers are going to be moving over to electrics over the next 15 years.
Absolutely.
So dumb position to try and short a Tesla stock at the same time that I think Tesla is kind of a bit overvalued for what it is that they can actually accomplish.
But that's the real, like, the fine line of how do you really you see the difference between the value and what the perception of the value is. And yeah, like I said, that's when I saw the trend on GameStop, before reading into all the title and seeing what's going on, I was like, why? I was there over the holiday. I know exactly how I feel every time I walk out of a GameStop. I never feel good. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to put it down. I'm just explaining myself in the best way possible. I've gone into GameStop a few times over the holiday because my son wants to buy, some Dragon Ball figures and so on. And every time I go in there, they're overpriced.
I'm sorry. That is the quote of the podcast right there. Every time I go into a GameStop, I feel bad.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't understand. I didn't understand. So when I started reading into it and then seeing how the price kept going up and up and up and up and up, and I'm like, oh my God, like how high? 400, 450. What, like, okay. So the reality of the matter is, obviously this is a, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts in this. Obviously, we're not representing one part or the other. We're really more commenting on the fact that there is a somewhat of a double standard going on, where it is that depending on how much is being lost, certain rules can be bent, certain things can be paused, and they shouldn't be. It's more about the fairness and treat both sides equally, because it's the same way if it would have been the hedge funds managers that did make all of those millions and billions of dollars, we wouldn't have paused it because other people, basically, they lost they lost money on their stock. But I do hope, I wish for GameStop to have a, somewhat, when this thing kind of blows over, that they're able to kind of figure out some kind of method to bring back their business. 2020 was very hurtful for them. And I know firsthand, because again, it's one of those things, say I have many in my area. But the goal at the end of the day, I think what really got me with the whole things going on right now is that, as John Rettinger was saying, there is possibility would be other things. So obviously the news is still developing, and we'll have to see what regulation can be made on this type of that. I'm hoping that it actually is improving the situation, that it's not just
well, I think in the medium term, most of what we'll see is reactions to this. It's like a Jake or a Logan Paul messes up and YouTube decides to go after content creators with 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
In the medium term, I kind of feel like our government will likely side with the hedge fund managers and the billionaires, and we'll get new regulations so that we can't manipulate stocks from the working class. But it's still perfectly fine if you've got insider trading, or if senators and congressmen are allowed to trade on inside information. Because they write the laws that govern how businesses can act. So they'll know well ahead of the public if something is about to go down. That's going to be fine.
That's perfectly fine.
But they'll come down harder on people on the ground floor. I feel like there's no way that there isn't some kind of corrective action that lines up like that. And again, it's not one political ideology. It's not one political side. It's money. And as long as a very tiny minority have a huge amount of interest in using money as speech, we're always going to be on the losing side of that fight. At least in the short term, this is going to be that temper tantrum. Again, we had an Occupy Wall Street after the housing crisis, and it never really felt like it manifested clear leadership or a clear idea of what it was that we wanted, how we wanted to affect change. Yeah. Now it's like this action that's being taken, and taking a stock like GameStop and blowing it up just to show how fundamentally broken this whole economy and this whole system is a wonderful act of civil disobedience. It is just a delightful, crazy, unhinged, angry response. And that's what I want to see play out in the short term is, let's start a new conversation off of this, because I kind of don't want hedge fund managers to feel as safe as they do in playing with money the way that they can.
Yeah. Which is the weird part about it is all of this is legal. The way things are set, it's actually legal the way it was done. There's nothing wrong with the way they were hedging on the loss of a sort of specific commodity, or not commodity, but the specific stock itself that we're looking into. But we'll have to see how it develops. Tomorrow, like I said, I think just basically what they said that you could sell. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to force it to normalize now. They're not allowing people to raise the demand, or sorry, increase the demand, and then therefore increasing the price. So
I mean, if you have the means and you're crazy enough to do it, and you know that eventually the stock is going to drop on you, and you're holding on GameStop, I'm proud of you. Like you do you crazy financial warrior you. I need there to be some reckoning for the fact that hedge fund managers saw blood in the water, went after a company that deservedly has a poor reputation, even amongst gamers.
Yeah,
like
no.
TK, no one likes doing business with GameStop.
If you've ever traded anything at GameStop or tried to sell anything into GameStop, you feel the pain. You feel the, yeah. Sorry.
It burns. I mean, like I've given up even trying to entertain doing business with GameStop. But what I have to salute is a bunch of wacky people on Reddit saw a trend in hedge fund managers over leveraging a stock to a degree that should not have been possible with regulators, that they were taking shorts on a quantity of stock well beyond the actual
I think like 140%
stock that existed. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they were way above the 100.
I've seen estimates from 120% over the actual amount of stock to 140%. But somewhere in that envelope, supposedly, from the lessons we learned after 2008, that should not have been possible. And if they come down on working class folks that are trying to play the stock market and make their own gains, playing the same tricks that other hedge fund managers have played, sort of taking positions and shorting stocks and manipulating markets, blah, 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 blah. If the only thing that comes out of this is that we have some kind of regulatory oversight over that kind of action, that at least would be one step more positive than where
the right direction. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's, at least we're moving in the right direction, as opposed to.
Well, I don't know that we are. That's what's frustrating.
No, that would be if that happens.
If that happens, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Preface it. If, then yes.
We just, a political if then else statement.
Well, actually, I was going to say if this, then that.
Yeah.
IFTT. One of my favorite services. We'll have to see how it goes. I'm honestly really intrigued to see how things kind of unfold with this, because the conversation is, like I said, it's still ongoing. It hasn't been solved or anything. All we have is somewhat of some concerns, and also a lot of uproar against basically the way the services are actually responding to this, which is because it's penalizing the general public for the benefit of the hedge fund managers, the people that have the most. Which, at this point, what will happen is if you pause it, and the stock does lose value, and it does drop back to where the hedge fund managers was originally going to put in, you're virtually trying to help them erase the debt that they got into because of the situation, which. That's not a fair game, and then allowing them only to sell, only to go back to trade when things kind of normalize. Which, in a certain way, that's the point of the stock market. It is a free market that you're supposed to basically allow the market to regulate itself, not you push and manipulate and push. And it just, to me, it was very.
And I hope this at least entertains a conversation where we can't really have just a unicorn libertarian fantasy of a completely free and open.
No, absolutely.
Because as soon as someone gets the tiniest bit of leverage, they will exercise that leverage into manipulating things for their own end.
Yeah.
And the only way to protect like free and open trading is by having some rules that are enforceable to some degree. So I feel like this is going to be a fascinating story to watch play out in a year of historic and fascinating stories. And
And we're
I
only in
don't
the
know.
first month.
It's just there's that weird little bit of nerd pride that like I'm terrible at playing stocks. Like I keep up with markets and quarterlies and like I want to
Yeah.
know what companies are making what moves. I have never put money directly into any stocks. I do not trust my own business acumen for that.
I some of
Watching this play out,
my
it's
I
delightful.
have some, but not directly. It's through my my previous jobs, 401ks and stuff like that.
Oh no. I mean, I do investing, but I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
sitting there
Oh,
like
no,
day trading
yeah.
on specific stocks. Like that is not my gig. So
So we're not going to see some stock guy hashtag some LG. Sorry, some stock guy come up on the
some
Aditya.
Wall
We
Street
need
guy.
some Wall Street guy. We need to make that happen. Aditya, you know what we need to do. But with that being said, I think we'll have to see how it goes. And I wanted to kind of touch base a little bit more about like what we kind of talked about a couple of weeks ago and last week,
Yeah.
which was the whole conversation around Samsung and everything. Like
Well, I like we got about a good half hour here before we gotta
we're trying to be better. By the way, yeah, we are trying to be better about the timing. We're trying to keep it on, and that's why I was kind of trying to do that really bad transition.
I feel like this is in keeping with the name of the show, the best of your week. TK, are we coming back to Samsung? Is Samsung the best?
It I wouldn't say best of my week. It's more of the I thought by getting the so for reference, what I was trying to mention is so in the title, I did get my S21 Ultra,
Mhm. And
and
you've never been happier or more excited. This is the phone to end all phones. Samsung does it again, knocked it out of the park.
actually Samsung didn't. So I had mixed feelings about the
I
device.
love
I've
putting
had
you
it.
on the spot like that.
No, it's one of those weird.
Dig it.
No, so I'm a fan of Samsung, and I'm not gonna deny the fact that I've used their products. I currently use their products. Heck, man, the Fold is one of my devices that I use on a consistent basis. But as a fan is where I'm confused. That's why I'm confused. This is where. So I got the S21 Ultra. Obviously, there was no surprise. There's no charger in the box. There was barely anything in the box other than the phone itself and a cable. So for me, that wasn't a big fact. That wasn't a really big shock. I knew that part. It's the setup process. It's using the system and trying to understand the benefits, the features, the settings, and all of the things in there. And then I decided, which is really kind of like counterintuitive to me, was to run a benchmark. Not the best idea. that
Excuse me. Go on.
And I didn't even run a whole slew. I just ran Geekbench 5. I like to. I don't. I'm not a. So if you guys have known me for some time, I really truly believe that benchmarks are not everything. They're not the storytellers. But I wanted to see
the beginning of a conversation.
Yeah. And I wanted to see basically if I ran this benchmark on the 888, because this is the first 888 device I've had. I've seen no reference device. There was no.
You
like
didn't
last,
get to Xiaomi. It's this is it.
No, yeah. There's no. I don't have the Mi 11. That's a China model only. So, the score was actually lower than my 865 phone. Then, that like what? So that was the first part that kind of threw me off. Some of the optimizations and everything else done on the phone actually make perfect sense. I did end up having to go with a slightly more storage because I couldn't expand the storage. So that was the other part. But I'm not getting that satisfaction I got when I got the S20 Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I felt like was truly an upgrade from the S21. From the S10. The S10 to the S20 was a big jump. Like you got a lot of it. The charging speed is noticeably slower. There, I don't care what when I heard, I forgot, was it Dave 2D's comment was referencing, or no, that wasn't Dave. It was Dave Amell, was where he said basically, it doesn't really charge at 45 watts all the time. Kind of jumps back and forth. Sort of answer.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, there is a difference. There actually is a difference. That 5,000 milliampere on this phone doesn't charge as fast. It does take me longer, and I say this because I've used it on the S20 and I know how much faster it is. So there's those little things are making it so that it takes away a little bit of some of the excitement that I had. I haven't had it much for long. I think most people are starting to get their phones yesterday. I think the Samsung and T-Mobile shipped out their units early, which I still want to be able to try to do that collaboration. By the way, at some point I want to be able to kind of switch around with you and things.
For sure.
Right now, out of the box, I'm getting a lukewarm. I'm not as excited. I'm happy that I got the phone because obviously I was looking forward to checking it out. I want to see what the 888 can do. I haven't put it through its paces yet. I did discover though that for you to actually get the 888 on the S21 Ultra to perform like an 888 is supposed to perform, like what we saw from Qualcomm at the summit. This is where I got the confusion on my end.
Right.
I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket saying like the S21 is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I realized that what I was really more excited about is the fact that it has the 888 in it. This is what I wanted access to. OnePlus is quite a bit away. Xiaomi is, again, not in the international market yet.
We have no idea what's going on with LG.
Yeah. So we don't know when if V70 or whichever V lettering could it be. So that whole conversation for me is if I didn't jump on this, get it and start using it, that was going to be one of those things. So there is a performance mode that you need to turn on, which by default isn't on, which
so
means
like how they used to GIMP their screens. Like here you've got this quad HD display, it comes out at 1080p.
Still do this. They tried and true, consistent. Samsung always giving you a 1080p resolution setting on a phone that has a QHD.
What didn't do that was the OnePlus 8 Pro. Out of the box, it was quad HD at 120 hertz.
And I left it there. I left it there. I never took it down from there.
Why would you? Why choose?
Why is it
a Why not? ¿Por qué no los dos?
Exactly. Always. So for me, like I said, so right now I'm kind of going through the motions with it a little bit. But surprisingly, what I was really excited about this week.
I'm sorry, TK. I have to circle back to this real quick. You spent how much on the phone?
After trade-in, it's everything about 800.
Okay.
Because I had to trade in. I'm trading in.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like retail, it cost you a phone, and
it cost me a phone. So it's about $1,250,
right?
So I didn't go for the standard because I got the $50 more on the storage.
Right. Okay, so it's a $1,200 phone, and out of the box, they've detuned the performance.
Yeah, it's set under perform, and under the technology is not set to go at 100%.
And they've set the screen to 1080p
as usual.
And it's the same cameras.
Not on the Ultra. So this is the Ultra. So this is the one we got the new telephoto. Like I haven't been playing with those yet. They've done some work on the cameras comparative when you compare it to the S20, not to the Note 20.
The autofocus works now.
So they're trying to
autofocus on,
and the front-facing camera has autofocus, which is actually very cool.
Where they had no autofocus on the S20 because it was garbage.
It was basically that. But what kicked me though is why not run it at 100%? Why is it that I have to go into the battery settings and turn on a specific option for it to perform at 100%? And in the setting itself,
battery throttling the phone out of the box on day one.
Why though? Why?
This is what Apple got tagged for, was throttling performance as batteries would age. And
that was the other. Yeah, it was more, and their wording was like, well, it's an older battery. We should slow down the phone. It's a feature. We're saving you time. You just can't really use your phone. So so those are the things that I'm kind of a little bit off put by in that sense. The S Pen function is neat. It's neat. It's the best way to say it. I got the case with the S Pen. I did end up using the S Pen that I had on my wife's. This S Pen doesn't charge, by the way. This was a weird thing. It doesn't have any way to charge this S Pen. So I'm wondering.
Is there a battery, or is it
no? It's a passive S Pen. It has a clicking option. It has a button, but I don't see any indicator on the phone. I tried charging it with my Tab S7 Plus. It doesn't work. The tech in here. So I tried it on my wife's phone. It works perfectly on the Note 20 Ultra. Oops. And well, that's how you lose the pen. That's how we lose it.
Oh
It was. I'm still trying to figure out the difference. It is a much smaller pen, though. It's not the same S Pen. I guess it's harder to show, but here and right there. So you can see the pen is actually much smaller. There is a button on it. It does say Samsung, but it doesn't have a battery, and it does not charge. So I'm intrigued to see how. We'll see. It's the short answer is the features that they had in there were cool. I like that, and if you want to get it, I think that's a good feature. But just from the core experience on the S20 Ultra, S21, I'm a little bit mixed about it. Like I don't feel like I upgraded. And I mean, I kind of knew I was going to say that I didn't feel like I upgraded, but I felt like I was hoping they would prove me wrong kind of a way, but not really. I still think the S20, it has a lot more features to kind of talk about. There's a lot more things, and it has One UI 3.0. It's not 3.1.
After their press conference, it was what I was saying on Twitter. I feel someone picking up an S20 Plus is likely. I mean, an S20 or an S20 Plus, it's definitely more phone than an S21 or an S21 Plus.
No, the S21 and S20 are very, very tailored down. Like the tailored experience is very.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah.
I was hoping that the Ultra would feel better, but it's driving me a little bit crazy what you're describing, what you're talking about. Samsung gimping their phone out of the box in that way that, I mean, like, it's frustrating that tech reviewers aren't wrong, but it's not that we roll over and we be apathetic. Oh, but I mean, like, what average consumers are really going to go digging through their settings?
Nobody would. Nobody would actually go through their setting.
It doesn't make it all right to get a phone and
why set it so that I don't know if they're trying to just justify basically saying that, well, this is for battery performance, because it says specifically when you turn on this feature to get the performance, the increased performance, that it would eat up more battery. But I'm like, that's the reason why we have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, is because we want to be able to eat up this battery when we have all those features on. You don't give me the large capacity battery and tell me you still have to turn off features.
And what's the point? This battery optimization that Qualcomm was talking about, and improvements, and
I can't really speak to that yet. Obviously, I'm still in that original, setup honeymoon. I'm burning through the battery a lot faster than typical usage, because I haven't gotten everything set up to the way I need it yet. But I would say this, that at least right now for me, coming from what I've had, the lack of the SD card is an issue. The slower charging is an issue. It's not as small as I thought it was going to be. Like the difference in size I thought it was going to stand out to me a lot more. Not really. That part didn't factor too much, but it's the fact that when I ran a benchmark, like assuming that the display wasn't a big issue for it, I just ran the benchmark to see it was in the 800s. It wasn't even in the 900s. I was like, what? How is it less powerful than an 865? It didn't make sense to me. Then I went into the battery and I remembered that certain devices have performance modes that are turned on for gaming. And sure enough, the setting is in there. I turn it on, and
it drives me nuts.
And it goes into super crazy. Where is it here? I'm just trying to, I wanted to kind of just to say the numbers correctly, because I don't want to make up the numbers. So when I ran it on standard mode, I got, without it turning on the feature, they're turning on the optimization option, I was getting 842, 2652. Okay. 842. That's less than the 865 on the 8 Pro. That's like crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. I don't remember what phone I've reviewed that's scored the fastest.
So, hold on. Let me see if I can do it. So here it is. 843, 2997 is the highest.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. This is without that feature. But then, once you discover it, because you had to go look through the settings, because that's not intuitive, that's not automatic. Right. Then you're able to get it to actually what it's supposed to do.
Wait a minute. Whoa. You're telling me turning on the higher performance mode, multi-core score is still
less, actually. Yes. So it's hard. Yeah, it's slightly over. I don't know. It's hard to picture. Here it is. The numbers are very hard. So if you look at the single core, it went up to 1075, but the multi core went up to 3021. So it didn't really jump by that much.
So I got 3300 on the Nubia Red Magic 5S.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3400 on the Xperia 5 Mark II. The Xiaomi Black Shark that you let me borrow.
The OnePlus 8. The OnePlus 8 scored higher. The 8 Pro scored higher. The S20 Ultra. Oh no, S20 Ultra didn't.
V60 I ran 3324.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I mean, and you know, when we say like Apple chipsets are so powerful, like, you know, their multi-core scores usually aren't as good. And even an iPhone 11 Pro Max was 3500.
Yeah. No.
I'm
not sure if it's missing something. I didn't install the first update. There was an update that came right out of the box as I turned it on. So I made sure it's running the latest software. And I only ran it purely for curiosity's sake because I wanted to see what the number was, like how much more
than a 10% bump. Or I guess just maybe right at a 10% bump for that single core score is mad.
Yeah.
That's insane.
To me, but what I'm trying to say is this is what I was expecting to see. This is what I wanted to see when I ran the score the first time. I thought this was going to be closer to what I see. The 3021 is a little bit of an under like I'm not sure if this is
that's like a 15% drop over the 865s.
And so what I do want to run it a couple of more times is to see the different settings, and maybe the display factor had into it, whatever. I could, but the short answer, this is why I'm not exactly jumping for joy.
Right.
It's a weird experience. It's a weird, like you open a box, you're like, I just got the PlayStation 5, and then you notice it's a PlayStation 4 with a sticker that says PlayStation 5 on it. I don't know. It's a weird thing. So I'm hoping that things will change. I'm not sure, but at least for now, I'm going to spend a couple of more days before I do my impressions video of the actual device, because I'm still trying to put my thoughts on it. I did get the S21 as well. That one, it was a T-Mobile, because I do jump on demand with them, and I did want to check that out. Surprisingly, for $799, I felt like that one was like, I mean, it's a very tailored experience. I can't really put my finger on how. I would expect them to water down what they would give you from this new lineup, but like I said, losing the QHD resolution, losing the SD.
I'm gonna be that guy. I mean, again, if I'm hashtag some LG shill guy, it's
always.
We went from the V50 at $999 to the V60 at $799.
Exactly.
We had to compromise a lower resolution screen.
True.
And we lost the dedicated telephoto sensor.
That was the other change they did. But we went. Then if you put the coin on this other side, is you got a larger display with
larger battery support.
Oh yeah, that's right. With stylus support, which was a very nice surprising.
Oh, we also lost the second selfie camera on the front.
Oh, that's right. They did go with single one.
4K 60 frame per second video from the selfie camera on the V60, so it's a better selfie camera. We
wireless charging,
milliamp hour battery,
stereo speakers, actual stereo speakers, which was not there before.
Much better stereo speakers,
exactly.
Than the V50, and then also support for dual display, the 865 with the new modem.
Exactly.
Everything, and even the quad DAC. I mean, it's an improvement that dogs probably can't hear, but it's a scientific improvement. Literally every part of the V60 was better for $200 less. If I go Galaxy S20 to Galaxy S21, I do not feel that even for $200 less that I'm getting a better device. I am still so much more positive, especially with some of the scores that you're showing in benchmarks. I am so much more positive saying, hey, if you can shop a Galaxy S20, you can get them so cheap now.
Oh, crazy.
The experience is going to be nearly identical, and you're going to get a better screen. You're going to get memory card support, so you can throw in a really big fat media card. You're going to get mag stripe support in Samsung Pay. It's like so much more phone.
It happened. I forgot that it didn't have MST, and I was paying at the store today, and I looked like an idiot.
No.
No, seriously. So when
Oh,
I go to my local Ralph's. I pay. I've always paid with Samsung devices, and this is the weird thing. Ralph's has this literally like a shtick. If you everybody asks, do you guys take Apple Pay? They're like, no, but we accept Samsung. I went up to the lady after I was done. I said, just as a heads up, the new Samsung phones don't work. So no, not all Samsungs are going to be working at some point in the future.
very soon.
But I felt weird, dude. No, seriously. I put it on the machine. I'm like, okay, why is it now? Oh, dang it. And it's like, there's no MST. I'm like, crap. So I had to pull out my wallet, like an old, process of doing things. And yeah, those little things. I mean, and I realize not everybody uses MST, and I realize that NFC is not as it's not like totally unusable. But I look at it and I see like why keep MST for the Exynos in certain markets and take it out of the Qualcomm? So it was a decision. They didn't take out MST from all of their units. It's specifically in the Qualcomm units that we get.
T in the regions that are well ahead for NFC payments, and they took it out of the region here where we're way behind.
Yeah, no, and whatever metric that they were using and looking into in reality, I'm not going to try to judge that right now, other than the fact that I really feel like even in the Ultra, even at the 1200, it still is somewhat of a predisposition. And I saw Nick's comment. I saw the comment that Nick made. He said, he doesn't mind that if it's gimped a little bit, but it'll last him a couple of days. No, it doesn't last a couple of days, even with the gimping that they did. It doesn't actually. The battery still drains out of the box. It's set to be on the adaptive on the 1080p, but it is still a large display. There's a lot of different bells and whistles that, again, once you start turning them on, right? Because you're setting up your phone, you want to get the best features out of it.
Well, I mean, you just don't use features on your phone, right? There's a problem. TK, you bought a phone, you're trying to use it.
And that's why I'm a little bit confused. It's like, if I want to enjoy my phone to the best, to the fullest, 120 hertz, adaptive 120 hertz, WQHD plus resolution, and the performance mode, I have a feeling I'm going to be killing the battery. Like what I want to test out tomorrow, which I feel like would be a really good example. Charge it up, wake up in the morning, normal time, put it on the charge, get it to 100%. I'm going to turn on all the settings on. I want to see how long does it take before I kill the battery? And I'm not going to charge it. I'm not going to use Android Auto, which I typically will do if I go out.
Okay, so TK, what I need you to do?
You mean to go to sleep? Oh
no. I mean, seriously, and like in all like nerdcore, because in one of the reasons why TK and I host these kinds of streams is because this is also a good chance for us to catch up too. You're just sort of for the ride.
Yeah.
What I need you to try and do is a collection of apps that like will actually benefit from higher performance modes, and then also compare that against running multitasking on a V60.
Okay.
Because something tells me, even though Samsung is so much better at software these days, I kind of feel like LG's gonna get them. I kind of feel like the V60, that 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and not having the higher refresh rate display, but running 2 displays on a year-old phone
would still perform better.
Neck and neck, if not better than
I feel like they would do better. I feel like so this is what I've seen typically from Samsung, and they've done this in many generations of their phones. They released a phone, but the software isn't ready all the way. Like all the reviews that we got from everybody that was done to this point.
So many updates. It's gonna be so great.
But the thing that I always wonder is like, so the reviews that were done on pre-release software.
Yeah.
But nobody, like not one person recognized, like I haven't seen one video mentioning the fact that the performance is hindered. Like nobody mentioned saying that, if you ran I mean, I realize that, again, benchmarks are not everything, and I don't base my usage of the phone. It does feel snappier. There is obviously the UI elements are there, and they've done the optimizations.
Off stream, I'll actually tell you who this was, but I was working with, I was talking to someone who was working on some of those Samsung embargo devices. And for the outlet that they were working with, they had to sign a crazy NDA. All of the messaging and all of the discussion had to be approved by Samsung. There was this crazy list of things that they could not talk about. They couldn't show the phone in certain locations. They couldn't show the phone doing certain activities. To get that early access, they had to make Samsung commercials. That's what they were, that they had signed into. And this was not a small company that this person was working with to produce this content. This was a significantly larger company than you would think that they would have to play ball with Samsung's PR team. And they still had to jump through all of those hoops with the most punitive NDAs I think I've ever seen. And it's just all so organic because Samsung's just so popular. No, they have a vice grip.
And you could, I totally very much a tailored. So the reality of the matter is, I think what I appreciate about the fact is now we're getting to see the true reviews, the true usage reviews, because that's when us or other people, real people that may be interested in actually buying the set device, buying the $799 version, buying the 720 or the $999 model. It was concerning for me. Like I said, I was expecting to be more excited about the S21 Ultra than I am. And it's a weird feeling. It's a weird feeling having spent that much money. And I realize, like you said, it's a $1,200 phone. I am trading in I'm not going to keep the S20 there. It doesn't really make sense for me to keep it. I am trading this one in.
For sure.
And for that conversation, at least for right now, out of the first 2 days of it, I'm a little bit worried. I'll do more and more of a recap of it on Saturday, hopefully on the show. But yeah,
I know how I feel about like Samsung and Apple business practices. When someone's dropping $1,200, I don't feel so anxious about those folks that are saying like, hey, for the way I use my phone, maybe I should go with an iPhone. Like if this is how Samsung is positioning, they're getting rid of the useful features that made Samsung unique and distinct.
Yeah.
And out of the box, they're running these kinds of shenanigans, then to me, it kind of makes sense. If you're so polarized that you can only see the smartphone market as Samsung versus Apple, and you're not willing to entertain any other conversation, why would you put up with that at $1,200? You know, like the iPhone suddenly becomes a more interesting buy, even for someone like me who would desperately never want to be locked into the Apple ecosystem.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. I barely maybe dip my toe in it every once in a while because I have one for work, but that was it. For me though, what I was trying to allude to the beginning, I think we kind of talked about it before. It was I picked up a $150 OnePlus.
I didn't know that's where you.
I was trying to say that when I compared getting this phone, and it's just really weird, and I do want to say I realized
price to delight or price delight price ratio.
That's exactly that's what it is. It's exactly on how much money I spent on this and what I'm getting to the least amount of money. And I think so. You have the N10. This is the N100. This is the entry level that OnePlus or the Nord by OnePlus is offering, and it was on sale for $150 over the weekend through the 24th in January. And I was like, $150 OnePlus device in the US. How crazy could I have to be not to take that up just to check it out, just for the sake of checking it out? And honestly, I'm surprised it's not that bad. I'm not saying I was setting a bar very high.
I guarantee you that is more and better phone than when I spent $150 on the Stylo 6 on sale.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say about that phone that we did the comparison, the challenge with me. Like, dude,
I think like the worst gut rot. I can't even remember what the name of the company was, but I mean, like
removable back by sticker. That's the name of the company.
I was feeling positive on the Stylo 6 before we had any of the cheaper 5G phones out, like the Nord N10 or the TC N10 5G.
Yeah,
at $150, if you were on Boost or one of the other MVNOs and you could pick up a Stylo 6 on sale, that was a good amount of phone.
Yep,
I used. I was fine with that. I guarantee you, the experience is cleaner on that N100 than where I was on the Stylo 6.
90 hertz stereo speakers, SD card support with a headphone jack. Boom.
I mean, even just doing, what is it?
$450.
Snapdragon 460?
Yeah, 460 with 4 gigs. So again, Snapdragon 460.
E35 in the style.
No. Absolutely. Yeah, no. If you even put it anywhere close, the sensors on there here are obviously it's a triple camera setup that really is only one camera that really works. It's a 13 megapixel on the back, but it's a 90 hertz 6.5 inch full HD. I'm sorry, no, HD display. Sorry, I do take that back. It's an HD, which means it's probably 720. But again, I was more excited because I wasn't really sure what to expect out of it. Coming into it with the N100, knowing or the N10, and I was really pleasantly pleased with the N10. I felt like the N100 is still actually a very compelling device for what it offers. I mean, obviously, there's no 5G here,
Right.
but it was definitely very surprising. But between the two, because they kind of showed up at the same time, I didn't know when the N10 was the N100 was gonna show up. But we'll do more videos. I'm trying to kind of play a little bit more with it. But again, stereo speakers at 150. How? It's just. I mean, I realized that was the sale price, but the normal price is at 179. It's not that much cheaper. It's only like $30 less. That is so affordable. So that was why I was like, I don't know how to pitch it to the, like the executive for this episode is like, okay, I got a couple phones that showed up. One's really expensive. One's really cheap. Which one do you like? The inexpensive one is actually more surprising. It seems should have been sold for more money. That's just me.
That's the gig. I mean, especially when you handle the N10, the TCLs, a Pixel.
Oh, absolutely. The Pixel 4a, dude, last year when we got that, it was that level of surprise. It was like, what were they able to do for 350 at the Pixel 4a? And the reality of the matter is, I will say this much though. One thing that did surprise me with this, which was nice, I guess, but I think the 888 better band support for us, at least in my area. I'm clocking in 250 down. Like my 5G is truly starting to look like Sprint turned on a light switch somewhere where I am.
Curious to see though is I mean, again, it's nice that better radio connectivity. I've been slamming iPhones for years for using crappy Intel modems. No one seems to care until they seem to care when it gets better. But to me, that is under the column of Qualcomm improvements, not anything that Samsung's brought to the table. After using the Xperia Pro, which just got phenomenal reception, even here in my crappy neck of the woods where we've got miserable LTE, and I was running broadcasts off of the LTE. What Sony did for their antenna management and their radio management is a step above.
Quad antenna. It had a quad antenna set up in the back for and then they changed the material. They knew exactly what they were doing with this setup. This was an intentional optimization done, and they did their job right. This is the thing about it, is when they spend the time to do the work, and when you look at all of that and say, well, it's running last year's chip, I'm like, dude, seriously.
It's not.
How do you even convey that conversation? The 865 is a 5G enabled processor. The 865, the 870 is literally an 865 plus overclocked. It's an overclock on an overclock. The 888 comes with a lot of optimizations. I give you that, and I understand. And again, that's really the biggest interest that I had with the S21 Ultra. I wanted to get basically what Samsung's offering as the best, because I went with the best last year. It's my consistent story. It's like what I want to experience out of what Samsung had to offer. But because the fact that I chose to go with their best this year, it's a different story. It's a weird story to tell. But yeah, you're right. The optimization that I'm seeing here isn't the Samsung optimization. It's Qualcomm's. That's why.
And now we just need to see when we get a OnePlus 9, if we get a V70, which I mean, like I'm
really hoping
much communication from LG after the end of last year. Like it's been pretty quiet.
I think I touched base with them a couple. No, wait. It was through their. They reacted to one of my. I think that's what it was. I went on a few other. Was guesting on a few other best of our year kind of thing, and I think we talked about the LG Wing, and I think that was my last interaction with them was through Twitter. That's basically they liked one of my things.
The new Twitter PR account. Like
it was through that. It was through that one. Yeah. No. Exactly.
But I'll be curious to see like when another manufacturer starts putting out 888s, is it going to be any different?
I'm anticipating Red Magic to jump in the same way they did last year with some crazy astronomical whatever their Red Magic
Yeah,
blah blah.
that I mean, like the supporting hardware on that was kind of weak sauce.
Oh no,
Really
totals.
no, but that's what I mean. Is it's a really inexpensive way to get the fastest chipset.
Mhm,
Doesn't mean you're backed up with the best radio design.
mhm.
Usually,
Yeah.
your haptics are miserable, like
Oh,
proper bad. Just that fuh kind of buzz motor under your fingertips. But what I mean is like a legit competitor, where
yeah.
I've been very pleasantly surprised with radio performance on the last two generations of OnePlus, like
Mhm.
taking it up and now going neck and neck against LG, where LG was sort of one of my top options in that space. That's what I'll be curious to see.
Yeah.
If maybe Samsung did do something interesting with the antenna performance, that would be awesome. But I'm starting to feel like this was a low effort refresh year for Samsung, for them to try
Absolutely.
and deliver
A-
as
a-
they needed to.
very much bare minimum, barely showing up for the minimum amount of hours during your day and leaving exactly on time, not any second later. Um, but like I mean, I have to give this much though. So the reality of the matter is, um, I did get a look from my wife where she's like, "Why does your phone have a pen now? Do you have and I'm like, so that was something. I was like, well, it's because Samsung wants to end the Note, honey. Your phone. I think you have the last one, and I think she took that as a serious thing. And I was joking. I don't think they're going to end the Note, but I think it's an interesting. It's an interesting accessory. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they put it as a case. It's nice that now we have a way to carry the pen with us. Um, but it's definitely an afterthought in a way. The case was designed for me. I feel like no, it's just because like if you hold it and you put it next to the phone, you could see the extra bump on the side, right?
Mhm.
So it's creating an uneven look for me when I'm holding my phone. Like I know that the pen is there, but the whole symmetry thing is killing me. So like it just looks like I'm holding it weird. But anyways, um, we'll have to see what the N100 does and how the S21 Ultra. I'm hoping within about a week or so, maybe by the time we talk next week, I want to maybe discuss a little bit more, and we can also open it up to the guys here and see if what they think about maybe doing the collaboration, maybe getting the the S21 in your hand. Maybe I think that would be a good option because I know you'd be I feel like if anything else, just to be able to just see what is the entry level refresh of the year for $799 offering.
Yeah, let's definitely chat. I'm kind of fine being in a holding pattern and not jumping right on iPhone
hope you
12.
like hope you like purple, by the way,
Oh, you got the Thanos edition. Excellent.
because you said Thanos. It was your fault, my friend.
Well, I do need to get going here pretty soon, but I do want to
Yeah,
cap in answering the title of our show, Best of Our
yeah.
Week. I have two
Okay.
bests of my week. Number one from last week's show, my daughter, who doesn't watch our live streams, must have been offended by my description of her Lego building skills. So where she would only do like
You
one
think she's
one
asleep, Juan. You think she's asleep. That's the thing.
she's and it's like right next door, so she's definitely like.
She's waiting for you as soon as you walk out the door.
So we finished. I thought we would maybe get
Ooh.
a hand.
Yeah, I remember it. Oh, here it is.
Lego Hulkbuster. She did both hands and the shoulder units.
Nice.
Like we just jammed. It was great. So where it took us a week to get a foot done, we blitzed the rest of it.
Oh,
And I really love the design on this, but it is
Mhm.
the most fragile of all of like the fingers pop off super easy and the pieces
So definitely a display unit. It's not going to be the
No, but like we've been playing with some of the other ones, like some of my older Hulkbuster things, and she'll rip an arm off and be like, "Oh no!" Just like in the movie, and now he's got to get a new arm. And it's hilarious, because she has actually seen the Hulkbuster fight from Age of Ultron.
It's all on, yeah.
She's like, "Oh no!" But this one little piece just clips off so easy. I don't want to play with this one, Daddy. Can I have the War Machine Hulkbuster arm? She wants the guns, and you're like, "Yes." Yes, you can.
The fact that she has a selection, and the second fact is the fact that she knows which one she likes to play with and which one is more, like this one is a little bit fragile. So I have a few toys here that my son has played with that have gone the way of the broken parts, I would
Yep.
say, and they're now super glued together, and that's why they're in my office. So that's just, uh, JGJ, exactly. This is why I end up having to use adhesive to finish my thing.
Well, I don't want to like craggle my Lego pieces, but
No, dude.
and actually what I want to do is see if I can get some parts. Like the knees don't bend. They look
Okay.
like they've got all of these joints and pieces, but they actually lock the leg at this angle. And like, no, I'd rather just have a ball and socket joint in there.
Yeah.
The knee could bend. So there actually, I kind of want to take him apart and fix him and like custom order some different pieces. But the other thing I wanted to highlight, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because it's not super popular and it wasn't in our main rundown. The biggest surprise of my week, the best of my week, new update for the Surface Duo.
I saw the news. Yes. It's supposed to have fixed a few things as well.
Got a 500 meg update, and this is the best this thing has been running.
Oh, wow.
Almost all of the orientation issues have been fixed. The weird, I'm sure you would have that lag where like you go to swipe something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The swiping as well. Yeah.
Yeah. There'd be like a touch lag, and like, I can't get into my app drawer. You would have to repeat an action. All of that's gone. There's
I got those a few times when I try to go. Yeah. No. Sorry.
I'm just saying, this has now become my absolute favorite tablet experience, bar none. It is so much cleaner and sleeker and more responsive, and it's just so refreshing when, like, the manufacturer obviously had issues to work out, but like, we'll get some updates. No, when the software actually does improve, it's been steadily improving. The beta channel for the launcher has been good. The beta for the keyboard has been good. This is night and day difference. This one update is the single largest like slingshot
improvement.
Couple little tweaks that still need to happen, and there are a couple games that just don't like this layout. Like my dual stick shooters, like Neon Chrome and Tesla versus Lovecraft, still don't work at all. Everything else, just huge shot in the arm. So especially knowing that this thing is already on like crazy price cuts, and like you can find people selling them for like $700.
Yeah.
Now this is becoming like a more legit tablet alternative if you're looking for an LTE enabled tablet.
Exactly.
I'm so I mean, like, again, I've been expecting improvements. I've been expecting software polish. Microsoft isn't just going to completely abandon it, but you don't really have a sense of what that might mean. This was like big jump. This last update was huge.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you got it, and I did put the comment from Matt. Sam will be pleased. Unfortunately, Sam won't be getting that update for at least a few more weeks, Matt, because of the he has an AT&T model, and AT&T typically is a few weeks behind. But yes, at the point that he gets it, I'm pretty sure he's going to be jump for joy because he loves his Duo, and they actually they jumped on the stream this last week with me on Saturday morning with tech.
That was fun to watch with you guys.
That was very fun, very badly coordinated on my end for the entry, just typical.
It was great.
So quickly for me, as far as the best of my week, honestly, I'm going to say that, the Xperia Pro, getting to be able to share the content that I've been sitting on for some time, that was honestly, I would say the best part of my week, that I would actually kind of, I feel the appreciation, the Sony base fan, and of course, working with you on it. That was the other thing about it. I got a chance to work with you on this again, which has always been the challenge in the past when we have to work with our tech and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll wrap up the video with that. I'm nothing against the S21 Ultra or the Nord 100, but Sony Pro.
More to come.
More to come. Yes, definitely. Next, more to come. And before we close it out, guys, we're still working on the whole audio podcast. We're trying to work out the mechanism between Juan and myself. So we're going to talk a little bit more this week, and hopefully by next week we'll have a better approach. And going forward, and we'll see how that goes. But did we cover everything else? Everything's cool, copacetic.
I think we're good, man.
We dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's.
And dotted all our lowercase J's.
All of them.
Yeah, no, doing good. Hanging in there. I mean, same for you and your family. It's just we're staying safe, trying to get in line for vaccines, and hopefully figuring out what new normal will look like soon enough. So you know what, this week was okay.
It was okay, and we're getting some rain as we're talking to you guys. We're getting poured on some what we'd like to call the winter storm of 2021. Whenever we get any rain in LA or anywhere in Los Angeles area, any rain, it's a storm. It's a storm of magnetic proportions.
Century ever.
It is. You think I'm joking? I'm not. It's truly. But yeah, with that being said, thank you, obviously, to everybody in the stream: Aditya, Sam, JDJ, Dishwari, Vincent in there as well. Matt, of course. I'm surprised Matt was able to jump on with us this time. That was actually pretty early for him. I forgot about that.
We got Paul, we got Heiki, we got Nick, we got Aditya. I mean, just awesome possum.
Always
awesome possum.
I love it.
Awesome.
And of course, with that being said, guys, we'll see you guys hopefully next Thursday on another episode of the Best of Our Week, episode 8 next week. And before we end the show, hey, Juan, guess what didn't happen this show?
We didn't have any crazy lockups.
Not a single one. I didn't have a single one on Saturday either. I think I figured it out.
Nice.
I think I figured it out.
All right. Save that for part of your Saturday stream, because I'd kind of be curious to see like
if it
what finally did it. No. What you did to solve it? Like
yeah. No, definitely. We'll talk a little bit more. But good night, everybody. Good morning. Good day, depending where you are in the world. Hope you enjoyed the stream. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.